Good morning. I'm Eileen Doherty, Executive Director of the Colorado Gerontological Society. As the director of the society, a nonprofit organization, older adults often tell us they didn't know about many programs, services, and benefits for which they are eligible. One of the main goals with Senior Answers, in partnership with Legends Radio, is to share information and help you take advantage of these programs. Today we're going to talk about medical and financial powers of attorney. While most people think powers of attorney are for older adults, everyone 18 and over should have one. We never know when we might not be able to make decisions for ourselves due to a medical condition, an accident, or some other situation in our lives. We have asked Rosemary Zippor from Zippor Elder Law to join us today. Rose is an attorney licensed to practice in Colorado. Her practice is limited to the areas of elder law and mediation. So let's get started and learn more about medical and financial powers of attorney. Rose, what is a medical power of attorney?
Well, good morning, Eileen. Thank you for having me on your program. A medical power of attorney is granting power to another person to make medical and personal decisions for you. This includes placement in nursing homes, decisions about surgery, whether you want a do not resuscitate order. All of that can be done by a medical power of attorney. Now, what we're talking about here is creating your agent. Remember, an agent can only do what the principal says that person can do. Like a real estate agent can't go out and decide your medical needs, whereas a medical power of attorney agent can. So remember, you're creating an agent who can only do what you say they can do. So it's very important when you're doing these powers of attorney to decide if you want one person to have all this power or you can have multiple people.
Okay. How do you select an agent?
Well, you have to select somebody who you can trust to act in your best interest. That doesn't have to be a family member. I mean, very often people come into my office and they're trying to decide which family member should be their agent. And as I'm talking to them, they realize that perhaps another person would be better suited to be their agent, a person who they know from church, or a person who they know who's a friend would be a better agent because they're local and they have more knowledge about the person's needs.
So we hear a lot about a durable medical power of attorney, or sometimes people will ask us, do you have an MD POA? What does durable mean?
Durable means that it's still good even if you become incompetent. In the past, a power of attorney was only good as long as the person who is called the principal, the signer, was able to make decisions. A durable power of attorney is allowed to make these decisions even if the principal, the signer, is not competent.
So in reality, it makes more sense, from my perspective at least, to make a durable power of attorney because you want someone who can make those decisions for you when you can't. So I think that's a really big improvement, if you will, in practice and in our laws these days. So just to review real quickly, a medical power of attorney allows the individual that you trust, or the agent, to make decisions for you about your medical or health. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
So let's talk then a little bit about a financial power of attorney. What is it and how does it work?
Well, a financial power of attorney, just like a medical power of attorney, is setting up an agent to handle your financial matters. And this includes taxes, insurance, real estate, all kinds of things. And we have to be very, very careful these days, especially with a financial power of attorney. Now, when you're signing a power of attorney, you can make it what's called a standing power of attorney, which means it's good as soon as you sign it, or a springing power of attorney, which means it's good only at some event in the future. When I'm doing a springing power of attorney, I require two physicians, one of whom is the PCP, or the personal physician, to be one of the people who signs in writing that you are no longer able to make your own decisions. Now, the reason I do this is because, unfortunately, there's a lot of financial abuse going on, especially with people who have powers of attorney over real estate. I've had 5 cases in which the agent, or the child actually, sold the house out from under mom, and mom didn't know it until she was evicted. So I am a big supporter of a springing power of attorney.
And I guess, part of what that reflects is our changing society, if you will, at this point in time. In years prior, we've often just had them do a power of attorney that is effective immediately, with the trust that it would only be used when necessary. But I know there's a lot of financial abuse going on at this point in time. The other thing I think that I've seen sometimes on financial powers of attorney is, do they have the ability to change a will?
Yes, in some instances. Now, again, remember that a power of attorney grants authority to the agent only so far as the principal wants it. And that means when you're signing a power of attorney, you can say, well, I want this person to have access to my bank account, but I don't want them to have access to my real estate. I want somebody else that I trust to handle the real estate, and separate that from the bank account. So remember that when you're doing these powers of attorney, for instance, you might want a standing power of attorney over your bank account. In case you are in an accident or you have a stroke, you would want that person to have immediate access to money, but maybe not to the real estate. So you can have multiple powers of attorney, and you can list different agents to handle different matters to protect yourself. This is also, by the way, why I do not recommend putting people on your accounts or on your real estate with the right of survivorship, or in joint accounts.
Because they can take advantage of you?
Because they can take advantage of you. It is unfortunate that the National Office on Aging says that 70% or more of the financial abuse in this country is by family members.
Yeah, I've seen similar statistics as well. So sometimes we see situations where the same person is both the medical and the financial power of attorney. What are the advantages of having the same person, and then talk a little bit about the disadvantages?
Well, when you have the same person, it has to be a family member. You cannot have a professional who is both. If you have a professional medical agent, then you need a separate financial agent, whoever that is, because a professional cannot do both. The advantage is that if you do have a family member who is acting in your best interest, then they can make decisions based on financial matters that they already know about. It also streamlines the ability to make contracts. So there is an advantage there. The disadvantage, again, is that you may have a person who's very good with medical matters but has no clue about financial matters, and you would want a separate person for that. Again, neither of these agents have to be family members.
Right.
But you can do that if you want to.
Okay. What happens to your financial or medical power of attorney when you pass away?
A power of attorney is only valid until the moment you pass away. At that point, you either have a personal representative for your will, or you have to go to court and be named as a personal representative if there is no will. The power of attorney no longer applies.
And I think that's a really, really important point, because I have people tell me all the time in my many years of doing aging programming that, well, I have mom's power of attorney, and I know full well that mom's been passed away for some period of time, and it's always a really hard conversation. So for emphasis, I often say that the power of attorney dies when your loved one passes away. It's in that moment, as you have said, and I think that's really important for family to know, because at that moment, you no longer have that power under the power of attorney. You may have it under the will or some other document. So I think that's really important. What does Social Security do about a financial power of attorney? Do they recognize that, or is that something that's a different process?
That is a different process because of the number of people who pass away and all they have is power of attorney. Social Security actually has its own power of attorney you can access on their website to name a person that you give authority to handle your account if you can't. And it has to be their form because, of course, Social Security is a federal program, whereas our power of attorney, it only applies in the states.
Additionally, once you fill out that personal representative form for Social Security, I believe it also gives you access to the Medicare records. Is that correct?
I believe it does, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any other information in terms of either a medical or a financial power of attorney that you would want to share with our listeners in the last minute or so that we have left?
Well, the one thing I want to stress is that an agent has to do what's in the best interest of the principal. That means that if mom is not competent, and in the past she's always given Christmas presents to your kids, it does not give the agent the power to do so. The agent has to act in every instance in the best interest of the principal. So no, you can't go around saying, well, mom told me to. Well, if mom's not competent, you don't get to do it.
Okay. Do either of these documents have to be notarized?
Actually, no, they don't. It's better if they are, but no, they do not have to be notarized. They can just be signed.
Okay. Well, that brings us to the end of our session today. Thank you, Rose. And in conclusion, if you are in need of elder law services or mediation, you can reach Rose at 303-866-0990. The Society also has information on our website as well as our YouTube channel that might be helpful to you. As always, if you have questions or need information, you can call 303-333-3482. We hope you found this information helpful, and a big thank you to our guest, Rose, for joining us today. A special thank you as well to Sam's Club Denver for their financial support. And lastly, thank you to Legends Radio for making this possible.